Careful, he sneered, wearing a suit, but not working. Standing outside a closed bookstore looks like you've got something to hide, right? That's how it goes, especially in neighborhoods where you don't belong, at least not on paper. I still remember that afternoon. Rare sunlight leaking through the leaves on a Charlesworth Street, and me, Martin Hayes, standing in front of a tiny, shuttered bookstore with nothing but the reflection of my own silhouette and the weight of 100 silent judgments. If you've never stood there, you wouldn't get it though. A simple suit, a closed shop, and the color of your skin could be enough to turn a quiet street into a slow-motion ambush. You know what I mean? I wasn't lost, not even close. I stood there, crisp black suit, white shirt, tie, without a label, old book tucked in my hand, just waiting, maybe for something I couldn't name. 10 minutes passed, the world moving by, music drifting from car windows, folks walking faster when they got close, pretending not to look, but looking anyway. And then this little white kid, maybe 10, messy blonde hair, scuffed sneakers, rolls by on his bike, stares a little too long, curiosity in his eyes. "Mister, are you lost?" he asks. That question, innocent as a falling leaf, cuts through more than the silence, For a second, I felt it in my chest, like a door opening, just a crack, and I nodded, not really to answer him, but to acknowledge, yeah, that's a question worth asking. No, I know exactly where I am. That was a truth, but the kid didn't stick around for more, just rode off when his mom called. And still, somehow, the whole scene felt different after that, like he'd held up a mirror and forced me to look. Now, I've lived enough years to know being a black man, standing alone in the wrong part of town, you could be in the right place and still be seen as a problem. That day it started with the kid, but it didn't end there. The wind changed, the air grew tight, and then right on Quia patrol car glided up. Young cop behind the wheel, eyes sweeping me head to Tino's shopping bags, no dog, no sign of being local, just a man in a suit. And to him, that was enough. He didn't get out right away. He just sat there, hand on the wheel, watching, like he was waiting for something to give him permission. A woman came out with her trash, saw me, saw him, turned back inside quick as she could. You learn to read these moments not by the words, but by the shifts in the air, the silence shaped by suspicion. The officer finally steps out, young, tight-lipped, the kind who thinks procedure means everything. He's got Bakup, a slightly older guy, arms crossed, leaning on the car, sizing me up. "Excuse me," the young one says, not polite, just official. "What are you doing here?" I met his eyes, calm, measured. "I'm standing." "Standing," he repeats, like I just told him I was building a rocket ship. Then comes the next line. "Do you have ID? You don't seem like someone who lives around here." I slide my hand out, slow-no, sudden moves. I don't have to show ID unless there's a reason. The older cop edges closer, tries to crack a joke. "Careful now, wearing a suit, standing in front of a closed bookstore, looks like you enjoy hiding something." I looked at him, not angry, just tired. "Are you trying to start something? Or just making conversation?" I kept my voice low, but the meaning was sharp. "You want trouble? Or do you want the truth?" Now the tension starts to show. The younger cop's looking over his shoulder, noticing curtains twitch, faces behind glass. "We're conducting area security," he says, stiff as a textbook. "You're drawing attention." I step back, still calm. Maybe it's not me drawing attention, but two officers questioning a citizen for no reason. The older one forces a laugh, but the cracks are showing. I ask, is it the suit, my skin, or the fact I don't bow my head? For a second, nobody knows who's actually in control. Out of nowhere, the young officer reaches for my brief casino warning, just the old habit that says a uniform means you don't need consent. The case hits the pavement. A book tumbles out, me biography, written years ago, now gathering dust on the sidewalk. The younger cop laughs, see? Fake intellectual. Wants everyone to think he's somebody. I don't answer, just pick up the book, brush it off, and let the silence hang. People are starting to watch now. Phones raised, curiosity thick in the air. Then he tells me to sit down, oh calm. No explanation, just control. I sit on the curb, gravel digging into my trousers, not out of submission, but because I know how these stories go when you push back the wrong way. Someone across the street is streaming live now, me face on a dozen screens. The cop says, "You know why I stopped you?" Because you don't fit. I look him dead in the eye. What are you doing? Knowing I haven't done anything wrong. He tells me to stand, turn around, and the search begins, hands down my sides. Every movement on camera, and I say, I'm being searched without cause. But I won't resist because I want everyone watching to understand the wrong is not in the reaction. It's in how this has become normal. The search turns up nothing, except the loss of control in the cop's eyes. Now the crowd is growing. A little boy holding his mom's hand whispers, "He looks like the man from the speech on TV." The mother hesitates, then turns her phone toward minutes, sure if she's witnessing an inconvenience or something finally true. I feel the air shift, not from violence, but from the weight of being seen finally, not invisible. The officer checks my wallet, sees the executive ID, laughs. Anyone can print this online. The older one reads it. Doubt flickers, but he covers it with cold neutrality. If you were the governor, you wouldn't be standing here. I slip the wallet away, emotion firm, like returning something misused. Then, just as it's about to spiral, a convoy of black SUVs rolls up, state flags fluttering. Out steps Richard Langston, Director of State Security. He doesn't need to ask questions, just reads their names off a tablet. Bryce Weller, Thomas Reed. Suspended, effective, immediately independent investigation begins now. The crowd is silent, phones still raised, nobody pretending it's just another day. In less than 5 minutes, the power dynamic flips quietly, efficiently, without a punch thrown. It's not a movie, but you can feel the script changing. I don't shout, don't demand, don't need to. I just ask, clear enough for every camera, every witness. If I didn't have power, would I have a broken arm by now? The officers can't answer. The crowd knows why, and so do I. When I finally walk away, wrist bandaged, the blood still seeping through, I don't look back for applause. I'm not looking to sue, not chasing a verdict or an apology. I just want the system to see itself. No more hiding behind titles. No more pretending these things don't happen when there's no camera. The story goes viral, everyone's sharing it, but not just to talk about me. They talk about all the times it happened to Thema College, kid stopped for his hoodie, a mother afraid to let her son walk to school, a man questioned in front of his own home. The phrase "could be me" starts popping up everywhere, in signs, on jackets, on classroom walls. People aren't demanding heroes. They just want to be seen, not suspected. Within days, policies start shifting, files are declassified, training manuals rewritten. An officer's father writes me a Laterno defense. Just truth. My son did what I taught him, fear, not hate. That's the crack, right there in the foundation. Justice, it turns out, doesn't start with grand gestures or courtrooms, but with the smallest act, standing still, refusing to look away, asking, why is this still happening? Even a kid like Liam, the boy on the bike, hangs a sign outside his fence, "Don't look at someone with suspicion before you say hello." You see, sometimes it's the simplest questions asked by a child that break a silence grown too thick to bear. So here's what I learned: silence is never neutral. And sometimes all it takes is for one person to stand still and not turn away, so the next person doesn't have to stand alone. That's how things change, not with a bang, but with a question that refuses to go unanswered. Now, I gotta ask, what would you have done if you'd been there that day? Would you have stepped in, looked away, or just hit record? And more importantly, how many times have you stayed silent when you knew something wasn't right? Go ahead. Let's talk about it, because the only way justice gets done is when enough people choose not to look away, even if no one's watching, and even if nobody ever says thank you.